Well, hard to believe Halloween just 1 week away from this weekend. And even though it'll be different this year, like everything else is different this year, still a good time to remind ourselves about the rules regarding pedestrians and cars. Joining us today, as he does every weekend, attorney Tom Sinas of Sinas Law Firm. Tom, I guess first and foremost, let's talk about some of those basic rules of both motorists and pedestrians, because there's going to be a lot of them out there next weekend.
There sure are. And this is the time of year to talk about this, as you said, Derek. Here's a few numbers first. Last year, there were over 2,400 pedestrians hit by cars in Michigan. 80% of the time someone is hit by a car, they are either seriously injured or killed. And in October last year, which was consistent with the years before, has the highest number of pedestrian-involved car crashes during the year. And I think it's probably a combination of Halloween and maybe the time changing, but it is a good time to talk about some of the basic rules. And there was one really important rule that applies for cars in the city of Grand Rapids. And this was an ordinance that was passed back in 2018, and it stated something very clearly regarding crosswalks, and that is this: cars must stop and come to a complete stop for pedestrians who are in crosswalks in the city of Grand Rapids. Failing to do that is a violation of the ordinance. Although it's amazing, I'm sure you've experienced this too. You can walk around the city of Grand Rapids and be standing in a crosswalk, and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars will drive by without stopping. Every time that happens, it's a violation of the ordinance. There are some rules also for pedestrians themselves. Pedestrians, when they can, they need to use a crosswalk. In the city of Grand Rapids, if they are between adjacent intersections, they must use a crosswalk. Everyone here has to remember one of the most basic rules that we talked about all the time: exercising reasonable care. Failure to exercise reasonable care means that the person who failed to do so is liable for negligence. So if a motorist violates that ordinance, doesn't stop for a pedestrian, and hits the pedestrian, the motorist can expect to be liable.
Interesting stuff, Tom. Let's talk about some of the recent changes in our auto insurance laws, whether that affects pedestrians now going forward.
Well, it does. For those pedestrians who have their own auto insurance, things are not much changed. If they were hit by a car, they are entitled to receive auto no-fault benefits because they are involved in a car accident. For those people who do not have their own car insurance, they still are eligible to receive no-fault benefits, but where they go has been changed by way of the new law. So for example, in years past, most pedestrians who didn't have their own auto insurance would collect auto insurance from the car that struck them. That's not so much the case anymore. Those folks have to go through a different process and have to apply for benefits in a new and more complicated way. So pedestrians who are involved in car crashes now have not only a whole different set of legal rights involving liability, but they also have a whole new a complicated system involving their no-fault benefits.
All right, a lot of questions indeed. Like you said, Tom, dangerous time of year. Maybe we get out of daylight saving time, go to standard time. A lot of these crashes, unfortunately, we see in October and early November. Where do people try to get out if they have more questions?
Well, they can find us online at www.sinusdramus.com. They can shoot us an email at info@sinusdramus.com or give us a call, West Michigan, 616-301-3333.
All right, thanks a lot, Tom.
Thanks, Derek.